Okay, this is my freeze-dry Hawaii video. Now, a while back, last summer, I went camping, and all the food for camping was freeze-dried food for that. But this time, well, make a long story short, I lived on the island of Oahu, and many years ago I took my wife back to Oahu, but now I'm taking her to Maui. And one of the problems I have with my wife, not that I have any problems with her, is she is gluten-free. So one of the great things about having the freeze dryer is we were able to make all this food prior to going to Hawaii. Now, going to a restaurant can be kind of dicey, even if the restaurant says that an option may be gluten-free, because you never know what could be in one of the ingredients, and you never know if something could be cross-contaminated, like having French fries are gluten-free, but if they're cooked in oil that had a breaded patty, then you have some cross-contamination. So we did a lot of our own food just in case. So right here we have tater tot casserole, we have a bag of dried apples, these are New York strips. Now normally everyone is used to these kind of packages, but because we only need these packages to last for a month or so, we went ahead and put all of our freeze-dried food in these vacuum bags and then vacuum sealed them. So we have our surf and turf New York strips, and we have shrimp. Right here we got mushroom risotto, we have eggs, and I can't remember, the eggs are for a pie, I believe. We have mixed vegetables, we have baked beans, and see what do we have here? We have cashew chicken, and for all those from Baltimore or from Maryland or from the East Coast, we have imperial crab. That is from the Chesapeake Bay. Okay, and we have scalloped potatoes, and then we have all the snacks which are commercially purchased. A lot of these are for me because, like the circus cookies, well, they definitely have flour in them that I can eat. Here's a good example. Beef jerky. You'd never think of it, but beef jerky has, if I can find it in here, it actually has flour. It has wheat. And I don't know why beef jerky would have wheat in it. It could be maybe a thickening agent. But this is one of those reasons why you have someone who is gluten-free has to be careful about the food that they eat. Now, like this trail mix right here, this is peanuts, peanuts, raisins, and M&Ms. Now, here's one thing about me. I can't have chocolate. I'm allergic to chocolate. Actually, I'm allergic to an alkali that's within caffeine. So I can't have my good old Mountain Dew, I can't have my Dr. Pepper, I can't have any kind of chocolate. So, like the candy bars I'm stuck with are payday bars. So, this is all the food we're taking. So we're going to have a suitcase full of food that we're taking to Maui, and then we'll eat all the food, and then we're going to put souvenirs in the suitcase on the way home. So, on my little trip, I'll reconstitute all this food, and I'll take some pictures and some videos of how things are going. But this is our freeze-dry Maui trip. And we have all of our shots and all of our tests and everything else like that. We've been planning this trip for 3 times now. And because of COVID, it kept on getting canceled. So, here we go. Hey, here we are at Maui Sunset in Kihei, Maui, Hawaii. So these are a bunch of timeshare condos, and when people aren't here to use their timeshare, or if they have some extra space, they rent them out. And that's how I got a hold of this location. So this is the leeward side of Kihei. We're on the leeward side of the island, which means it's the dry side. The other side gets all the water. It's not a bad place. It has about everything you can imagine to have and everything you need. And for the next 10 days, this is going to be home. Now, what we couldn't bring and what we couldn't really freeze dry would be things like, well, we got root beer, we got milk, we got orange juice, we got B8 Splash, we got bacon, we got luncheon meats, we got potato salad, we got cheese and like ketchup, mayo. These things you really cannot freeze dry, and they're awful hard to kind of pack. So we had to purchase these at the local Walmart, and I tell you, if you're complaining about the prices of food on the mainland, just wait to see what the prices of food are in Hawaii. Back home price for vitamin D milk, $2.39. I'll give you a chance, think about it. What's the Maui price? $4.99 a gallon. Bistro salad bowl, chef style. Back home price is $2.98. Think about it and don't shout it out. Maui price $4.99. A&W root beer, gotta love the stuff. Back home, $3.88 for a 12-pack. What's the price in Hawaii? $7.28. But wait, we're not done yet. There's a 72-cent tax for a recycle fee. So that makes the price $8. Okay, so we have a loaf of great value Walmart brand bread. The back home price is 88 cents. What do you think the price in Maui is? Give you a second to think about it. 88 cents back home on the mainland. Maui price $3.24. That's a big difference. Okay, we rented a condo for 10 days. It's not a bad place. It's kind of dated, you can tell because of the popcorn ceiling. So this condo probably was built sometime in the 70s. It has a big screen TV, has a little bit of a kitchenette over here, which is kind of nice. And what's really nice, it has a washer and dryer. That means we only had to bring about 3 sets of clothing, and so we were able to wash our clothes without having to pack our clothes. And it has a nice little living room area, and it has a bit of a deck that looks out over the grounds. It has a couch that can be converted into a bed, and it has, I don't want to call this a Murphy couch or whatever I want to call it, but then it has this little thing right here that can fold out to a bed. So this can actually sleep 6 people or 2 adults and several children.
For submarine. Makes most of my speeches meaningless because it's mostly about keeping them safe. The entire Hawaiian language. Allow Willy Willy Nigga to go away. They didn't have scuba gear, they didn't have cranes. Now you can see it's for us. We found this location that had less than 10 fish in every direction for as far as the eye could see. Nothing but sand and algae, nothing to damage. This fishermen just eat them themselves, in them and sell them. I've also got in the openings here these vertical black stripes. They're mine. We've also got some of the Oreo cookie fish, of course, the ones looking just like a color. They will actually leave clouds of sand all over. And war, for example, right? You don't want somebody finding you. And so they try to be very quiet. They try to be a dark color. Here's a mask that it can outrun everything down here. You'll see if it gets spooked or just decides to, it's gone. You'll never see that thing again.
For breakfast, we have tater tot casserole. This is a favorite of my family's, and we're going to prepare it the same way we prepared the other foods in the past. We're just going to add a little bit of water at a time and lightly stir and add more water. Just a little bit more water. So tater tot casserole is basically tater tots, bacon, ham, cheese, so it's a little bit of everything for breakfast. Okay, we're going to let that sit and come back to it. We let this set for 20 minutes and it's ready to go. All we need to do is heat it up in the microwave. When on Maui, if you're in the Kihei area, there's an Italian restaurant called Fabiani's. Not only do they have great pizza, but they have the greatest gluten-free pizza. Can't tell the difference. Okay, this is regular pizza, and this is gluten-free pizza. Look at that crust. This is great pizza. For tomorrow's dinner, we're going to have steak. At the condo where we're staying here in Maui, they have about 6 grills out in the common area that are available for people to cook their food. So these are New York strips that I freeze-dried prior to coming to Maui. Now these were cooked sous vide style at 131 degrees for 3 hours. And so this is the best way I've been able to find to bring steaks back to life from the freeze-dry method. And these have been seasoned with Montreal seasoning. So we're going to put these into a Ziploc bag, put them in the fridge overnight, and tomorrow we'll see how they come. So we put these in there. Now because we're going to do this overnight, you do not want to leave this out. Food should not be left out longer than 2 hours. So that's why we're going to put this in the refrigerator. So we're going to have steaks, and then along with the steaks we're going to have scalloped potatoes and mixed vegetables. So tomorrow's meal is going to be totally freeze-dried. Just got back from the Maui swap meet. Spent several $100s on t-shirts and other souvenirs for my family. Okay, so these are the steaks I put in last night. So these steaks have been in water or marinade now for 13 and a half hours. So one of the things I want to do is sometimes the steaks just don't get, the moisture doesn't go all the way through the steak. Sometimes you end up with a piece of hardness or dryness that's halfway through the steaks. So what I'm going to do with this fork, I'm just going to probe in here, and if I have any sections of hardness where the moisture hasn't gotten to or hasn't penetrated all the way through the meat, I'm going to fill it. And so far things are looking good. Now I've had this problem a lot in the past, and I'm starting to wonder if the reason some of my steaks in the past were not as tender as I thought they would be, and that you end up with the dry spots in the center, could be because of the quality of the meats. Now this is a New York strip. This is a very good piece of meat. Most of the steak I eat at home are just regular sirloin steaks, and maybe that's the issue. One other thing is these steaks were cooked sous vide, so they're going to be naturally tender anyway. If this was just a raw steak that was freeze-dried, I might have a whole different outcome. But anyway, these steaks look like they're ready for the grill, and I'll be putting these on the grill in about 4 hours from now. So far, so good when it comes to steaks and my freeze-dry Hawaii. Oh, one thing I forgot to share with you is on the way back to our condo, we stopped by Walmart. I wanted to see how much steaks were at Walmart. There's only one Walmart here on the island of Maui, and they do not have a bakery section. This is their meat department. So all the meats they have at Walmart are pre-packaged, pre-frozen meats. They had like a few little ribeyes, they had some hamburger, they had some livers, but they didn't have any roasts, they didn't have any other steaks. when I asked a Walmart employee where to buy some meat, they told me to go to Costco. But this is another reason why I think freeze drying can be so valuable on a vacation. These steaks, these were bone-in ribeyes, and I can't remember how much they cost. I think it cost about $8 a pound for these steaks. I can't imagine how much it cost here in Hawaii. And so for the fact I was able to freeze dry some of this meat that I brought with me, just made my vacation a little bit more affordable. Okay, along with our steaks tonight, we're going to have scalloped potatoes. Unfortunately, I don't have a pair of scissors. I only have a knife. For one thing, when you look at freeze-dried food, when it comes back out of the package, it's not the most appetizing thing. But I remember these scalloped potatoes, and they tasted pretty good. So the thing about reconstituting freeze-dried food is knowing how much water to put into it. So if you're to measure the tray and get the weight, and then measure the tray when it's done, the difference is going to be the water. But in this case, where I'm getting a couple of serving sizes, I'm kind of blind on how much water to put back in this. So I'm just going to have to start putting a little bit of water on here, a little bit at a time. Because one of the things I don't want to do is I don't want to dump a whole bunch of water up here and then stir it up and end up with scalloped mashed potatoes. I want to keep the thinly sliced piece of the potatoes intact. So I don't want to end up beating this to death. So we're just going to put a little bit of water here and there, and come back and check on it every few minutes. Add a little bit more water here. Turn some things around here. I wish I had a bigger bowl, but I can only work with what I have here in this condo. Well, I found a little bit bigger bowl. This might work a little bit easier. It's getting there. I still have a couple of hard spots. But it's almost ready to eat. Although it's cold, I'll need to heat it up. There's plenty of moisture in my scalloped potatoes now. I'm not going to put any more. And there are sections that are still crunchy. But what I'm going to do to take care of that problem is I'm going to go ahead and cover this with some plastic wrap, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in the microwave. And as I'm going to heat this up, what moisture is going to be in here is going to create steam, and that steam is going to penetrate the remaining dry pieces, and it's going to bring this back to a perfect condition. So the scalloped potatoes are basically done. Just need to be heated up. What's the point of having steak if you don't have some kind of seafood? So we're going to have surf and turf with our meal tonight. So this is a spicy shrimp dish I made earlier. And shrimp is one of my favorite freeze-dried foods. Shrimp comes back so well. It is absolutely amazing. So we're just going to go ahead and throw some water on that. And this shrimp is one of the easiest foods to bring back, and it can't tell the difference. So we're going to go ahead and put this aside. Now we all can't be meat eaters, so we have to have some vegetables. So we have 2 meats, we have 2 proteins, we have our starch, and now we have to have our veggies to make our mothers proud. And this is a mixed vegetable. Let's see, it looks like we have corn, we have little baby corns, broccoli, carrots, peppers, and snap peas, it looks like. So just like the other ones, we're going to put some water back in here. We're just going to give this a bit of a stir and let this sit for a while. Both of these we're going to cover with plastic wrap like I did with the potatoes, and when we put them in the microwave to heat them up, that steaming action will take care of the rest of the rehydration. So these are our steaks. I was going to grill them outside, but the wind it's really windy out there right now. So we'll have to settle for having them in a pan. And like you know that it's hard to say when it's going to be medium rare, but you know it's always has this kind of weird looking center, but that's about as close to medium rare I'm going to get these coming from a sous vide steak. Oh, that is really good. Okay, so we have our New York strip, we have our spicy shrimp, mixed vegetables, and scalloped potatoes. And that is slicing so well. That is medium rare, just where it needs to be done. So, freeze-dry dinner for 2 in Maui, Hawaii. Just got back from the road to Hana, which was really interesting. Now, we didn't follow the normal road that everyone else follows. We went the back way. Very interesting because there really wasn't a road in many places. But anyway, tonight's dinner, we have cashew chicken. Now, the thing I like about Chinese food in general, it's a great type of food to freeze dry. Whether it's cashew chicken, lemon chicken, just about any Chinese food that has rice in it, freeze dries really well and comes back. And it's been my experience that when it comes back, you can hardly tell the difference. Okay, so, I mean, you can see the cashews in here, you can see the chicken, you can see the vegetables. This, like I said, Chinese food is a really good type of food to freeze dry. All we need to do is throw some hot water in here. It comes back really quick. And then you heat it up with it covered with saran wrap, you steam it a little bit, and you can have this food ready in 5 minutes. Just in case I add too much water, I have some material to counteract that. So I have some hot water here. Now, just like rice is usually a 1-for-1 when it comes to water. Okay, so we're going to let that sit for a while and see what it does. Okay, this has come out absolutely perfect. Now, for some reason, the reason I hold some back, well, let's say I put too much water in there. See, now this is just going to be a soggy mess. If you don't hold some back, well, you're going to end up having cashew chicken soup. But hold some back, add a little bit of dryness, mix that up, and let the new dry stuff soak up the excess water that was added by mistake. Okay, this is still just a little bit too wet, so we're just going to go out, put the rest of it in there. Like that. So we're going to cover it with plastic, throw it in the microwave, let it have some steaming action, and it's ready for dinner. Piping hot, ready to eat. Too hot to hold. Okay, there we have it. Cashew chicken for tonight's dinner. Okay, for dinner tonight, we have cherries pork, or pork with cherries, and we have mushroom risotto. Now, just a comment. I'm sure everyone have heard the expression, when in Rome. So, I'm not suggesting that if you're going to go to Maui or any other destination, that you shouldn't try the local food. For example, if you're going to go to Hawaii, you should try and go to a luau. And we did that on our first night, our first day in Maui. Went to a luau, had lots of food, and unfortunately my wife ate something that was not labeled gluten-free, and she got some gluten in her system, which basically made her pretty fatigued and tired for the next couple of days. For example, if you go to Maui, on the road to Hana, there's a chicken place on the side of the road that makes fantastic grilled chicken. And so if you go to Maui, and if you take the road to Hana, that's one of the things you need to try. So by all means, don't lock yourself up into a hotel room and just eat freeze-dried food. You got to go out and you have to sample the local cuisine. If you go to Italy, you're going to have pasta. If you're going to go to France, you're going to have French food. So I hope you understand. So this is pork. This is pork loin. And these little bits right here are cherries, and I think it's like the gravy or the broth that went with it. So we're going to arrange this as well as we can in the bottom of this, like so. And I have some hot water here, and so I'm going to put the hot water a little bit at a time, because these are like little teeny sponges. It's going to suck up the water. So you can see the water in there. So, oh wow, I can smell that already. Oh, that smells wonderful. Has cherries and bacon. That's also what's in here. And you can almost see that it has already soaked up some of the water. So we're going to set that aside. The next thing we have is mushroom risotto. Probably not saying that right. Now this was vacuum packed. This did not have an oxygen absorber in it. Now this is only done 2 weeks ago, so I probably packed it with that in mind. This one was vacuum sealed inside the freeze dryer. So this is mushroom risotto. Basically, it's rice that's been cooked in broth with little pieces of mushroom. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to put a little bit of water. Now you got to be careful with foods such as this. There's a difference between these two foods. This will only take as much water as it needs, and then it'll stop. You're not going to make this meat mushy. But with this mushroom risotto, if you add too much water, you can make it mushy. So with a food like this, you just want to take a little bit at a time and not overdo it. Because if you do overdo it, you're going to end up with mush. Or what you could do is hold some of it back and add some dryness if you do get too mushy. But we're just going to be careful. So we have a protein with our pork, and we have the starch, and I have some leftover vegetables from the other night to complete our meal. All these foods are coming along just fine. One of the drawbacks that I often see and experience with eating freeze-dried food is you'll be eating food that you think is just fine, and all of a sudden you find a crunchy spot. And I guess that's the way things are. So I have the mushroom risotto. This is doing fine. I separated the cherries and the bacon pieces from the pork, so just in case they take a little bit too much time. Now, one of the drawbacks, I think, with reconstituting food, if you don't give it enough liquid, then you're going to have dry spots, which is a real drawback when you're eating your meal. And so sometimes you might have to add a little bit of extra water to make sure that everything gets rehydrated properly. That's what I'm doing with the pork, but the problem there is a lot of the flavor, the seasoning that was on this pork originally can get washed away. So this is what I decided to do. So what I did, I took all the liquid that was in here, including the cherries and the bacon, and I reduced all that liquid down into like a little bit of a sauce right here. So I had to make this little tray here because the toaster oven here doesn't have a tray for it. So I'm going to lay out the pork. This is pork tenderloin that was freeze dried. I'm going to arrange it here on this little makeshift cookie sheet, and then I'm going to get this reduction that has the cherries and the bacon, and I'm going to put this back on the tenderloin, and then I'm going to put it into the toaster oven on broil to heat this back up. And I think this looks pretty darn good myself. So we have the pork tenderloin, and then we have the mushroom risotto, and then mixed vegetables. So, next step. Hot, 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 hot. Okay, so much for making homemade cookie sheets, but this is the cherry pork loin. I think it came out absolutely wonderful. Okay, so there we have it. That's our dinner tonight. So we have mushroom risotto, cherry pork loin with bacon, and mixed vegetables, all freeze dried. I don't know how much it would cost in the restaurant, but like I said, we're saving some money on our trip to Maui, but we're still going to go out and sample the local food.
That place, the wall up here, when it's raining a lot, there's 17 waterfalls just in that valley alone.